Today we're not in the shop because it's too hot. We're out here with this little jet ski, Seadoo XP. You might have seen it on my Instagram if you follow me there, at Lean2 Customs. It's a 95 model. It's supposed to be 85 horsepower. Got the Rotax 717, I believe, in it. Starts up and runs pretty good. Haven't actually had it on the water, but we're going to start cutting it apart because I want to put this jet pump and motor assembly in my little John boat because I'm not very good at catching fish, so I figured it would be more fun to be able to go fast if I'm not catching any fish, because it's got a 15 horse on it now that does about 12 miles an hour. So this should bump that up and make it more fun to run around in. So we pulled the dock guard or bumpers, whatever you want to call it, it's along the side. And we're going to try to cut this seam right here so we can split the top from the bottom and get ready to start cutting the hole apart so we can get the part we need out for the boat. Got the seam cut all the way around, so this is loose now. Had to switch out and get the corded saw because we run out of batteries for the battery operated one. So now we got to go through and disconnect a couple things, your kill switch wires and the steering linkage mainly, and the fuel filler neck, and then we should be able to lift the top off of this and get started looking at what we need to cut on the bottom. Holes separated. Let's see if I can get it to start back up. Hook my kill switch up. Got my start button. And then so the next step, we will pull the motor and everything out and then start cutting the hole down to get ready to put in the John boat. So here's the update for today. Didn't film anything because it was super hot back here and I just wanted to get this taken apart. Got the motor out. The hole is empty except for a bunch of oil that poured out of the oil reservoir, which is over there. Everything is taken apart as far as it needs to be. I think might pull a couple more of these hoses out just to get them out of the way, and tomorrow after work I'll come back out here and I'll start cutting the hole. Basically I'll start by cutting it right here and cut it right outside of the motor mounts and then back down in there just so it'll set up in the hole. I've just been watching videos on YouTube on how other people have done it, and I'm trying to kind of copy that so I can get this done fairly quickly and hopefully it won't leak too bad. Well, we've been trimming on the hole. Here's what's left of the bottom of the hole. We're still not done trimming it. Right now we're trying to get these last 3 screws out of this plate. These 3 are really stuck. Those 3 on that side came out fairly easy, so we're trying to get those out so we can get this piece off so we can continue cutting, because we're going to cut this off back here somewhere so that basically the whole pump will stick outside of the boat, just to give more room inside the boat so we're not sitting all the way in the front because the motor sits in so far. But right now we're just trying to get those out, so we'll see if we can figure it out.
Really tight.
Yeah, never used an 18-inch breaker bar for a Phillips screwdriver. Got the piece that we cut out up here by the house so I can wash it off. Got some purple power on it, letting it soak for a little bit, and then I'm going to rinse it off because I got spilled a bunch of oil whenever I pulled the oil tank out. So I'm just trying to get it to be not quite so nasty. Just got to do a little more trimming on this to make this flat here, or square more so. And then we'll probably cut another inch or inch and a half off the front and bring it right to the front of those motor stands there. And then we'll be ready to start working on the boat to get it ready for this to go in. Got the boat up on the little stand here because it's still cooler out here than it is in the shop. Cut the back seat out, cut those brackets off, and then drilled the rivets out because that's going to get cut out anyways. Pulled the boards off the transom because all that's going to go away. Well, down low it will. This will have to fill these holes in. But now we're just figuring out what we got to cut and what we don't want to cut, because we don't want to end up with too big of a hole. For the piece that's over here, it's all cleaned up. Probably just do a little bit more trimming on this before we throw this in the boat. Well, now there's a big hole in the boat. We're going to get the hull piece and get it test fitted in here. Try to get it where we can drill our 4 holes for the pump bolts to go through, and we're going to try to use those bolts to sandwich the transom. But I'm not sure if our hole is going to be big enough for this to set in here right now, but we should be able to get an idea what it's going to look like. Basically like that. It's just going to have to slide back that much further. Okay, got most of the cutting done on this boat. You can see where we moved the cut up to that rib there. Trimmed the back piece so it sits almost against the firewall. There's a bit of a gap here, but that's because this firewall's not very thick, or transom I should say. And when I flattened out this hump, it put a bit of a divot in it, but I'll just push that back up whenever I attach it. Planning on using some sealant, some marine sealant on the bottom, as well as big rivets. And then on the back, I'm planning on using sealant here, and also putting a piece of aluminum angle right here that I can use sealant and rivet it into this and this, just to add a little bit more support to the transom since it's so thin. And then it'll just be a matter of filling this gap up here and putting the motor back in. Yeah, I didn't film anything because I got ahead of myself and put the sealant down before I recorded the first part, so I had to go ahead and put the thing together. I've got this sealed back here. I used angle iron so I could attach this piece to this piece to help the adhesive. And then the bottom is sealed also with the adhesive and a bunch of rivets down both sides. So we're gonna let that set for a day or so till that kind of hardens up a little bit, and then flip it back over and work on the bottom, this part right here, which I'll probably have to take it in the shop so I can use the spool gun. But we're making slow progress. Today is Wednesday, trying to make it to the lake by Saturday, working on this thing a couple hours a day after work. So we'll see if we make it. Got this boat in the shop today, getting ready to get started on the getting this part sealed up down here. I was gonna just fold this down and rivet it on, but I think I've decided I'm going to cut this up to this row of rivets, or right behind it, because this is where the next seat is attached, and that way it'll give me just a slightly less steep slope for the water to get across, and I'm hoping that'll make it perform better, not cavitate, or whatever you would call it if you run out of water when you're going fast. So got my cutoff wheel. I'm gonna get this cut. I'll draw a line, but this will end up getting cut all the way to about there, and then I'll have to cut this off so I can fold that up out of the way. Okay, I got my filler pieces welded in. The welds don't look great. I'm still learning this spool gun. It doesn't really go low enough to not blow holes in this aluminum, but I got it welded on both sides. This side went a lot better than that side, but I was figuring it out. I'm gonna wait for this to cool down, and then I'm gonna grind all this flat, and then I'm gonna go over all the seams with some of that. And then do something about this cap in the middle, because I don't really like how that looks, but we'll see what we figure out. And then we'll be able to flip the boat over and work on the inside a little bit, make sure that I didn't leave no real rough edges that are gonna cut your feet up. Got the boat turned over, sitting on the lift very precariously. Probably just bring my stand up here and set it on it so I don't have to worry about it falling off. But this is what it looks like from the inside. A little bit of cleanup I'll have to do, and then I'm just going to use some more of that 3M stuff because I got a whole other tube, and I'm going to go ahead and fill this gap in here just in case the 3M on the bottom and the welds leak. Try to keep as much water out of the boat as possible, and then it'll be time to start putting the motor and the pump back in. All I have to do back here, excuse the lighting, it's a little dark. I have to trim these out just a little bit where these marks are for the pump thingy there to set in there. I'm not real sure on the terms because I'm not a jet ski guy, but we'll get that put on after we clean up some of this old silicone here, and should be ready to hit the water in a few days, hopefully. Got the boat on the lift, turned upside, well, right side up, turned over from yesterday. The bottom is all dried up from the stuff I put on it yesterday. So I started working on the back. Got the pump and the ride plate on. The pump is just bolted on right now, mainly to squish the glue I put in up here to make sure I get a good seal on those holes. I still have to put that's where the trim cable goes through, so I'll have to do that. But it's starting to look like a jet boat. Next step, I guess I'll go ahead and throw the nozzle on because I've got it sitting right there. And then I'm going to lower the boat down on this little cart that I made for my jet ski, but that'll make it a little less precarious if I'm trying to put the motor in or something. I don't want to knock it off the lift because it's just barely sitting on those rails. But we'll get the pump thrown on real quick, or the nozzle, see what it looks like. Alright, got the nozzle on, so we'll see what we get to next. I'm assuming, I think I'll just let the boat down and try to go get the motor out of the yard so we can try to get it setting in there. Probably let the glue set up and then unbolt the pump, slide it back a little bit so I can set the motor in there and then slide the drive shaft back into the motor. Probably be the easiest way to do it. A little update, I got the trim motor on. This unit doesn't really work. The motor works, but when you plug it in, the buttons don't do anything and it defaults to trimming it all the way down. So I pulled the motor off and screwed the trim back up, and I can adjust the trim if I just hot wire these wires by reversing polarity. I can move it up and down. So I'll do a little more diagnostics and see if I can figure out why it doesn't work, or I might have to just order a new box. But for now, that should keep the trim from moving. Working on steering, all I did is I cut the handlebars to make a little push-pull steering setup. All I've got to do is attach this rod right about here somewhere to give me a good amount of travel, not too much, because it should move about 6 inches or so to go all the way, and then the throttle will still be right there. So just have to figure out what we need to weld on here to attach the factory linkage back up. Not sure where I filmed the last clip at. Motor's in. Some of the wiring is just sitting in there. I don't have any of the switches mounted. I got the steering done and the throttle, so that's good. I'm working on the fuel lines now. I got the tank sitting up here, trying to keep the weight kind of balanced in it. So tank is here, filter is mounted to that seat. Got my new hose here. We're going to run longer lines back to the motor. Try to keep them tucked up out of the way so you're not tripping on them. And then we're going to rerun oil lines also. Then we're going to mount the tank right back there where it was on top of the gas tank. We'll see how this goes. Okay, got the fuel lines ran. Got the tank mounted. I just used a leftover piece of a ratchet strap and I screwed it into this rib here. So shouldn't go anywhere. Oil tank is ratcheted down to the gas tank. That's how it was mounted in the ski originally. Got the hoses run. Still need to tidy that up a little bit. I'll try to give it a start up. It's not the first start because the first start I had all my hands on the buttons trying to make it start up. So got my start button there, and then the lanyard will go here. But let me see if I can do this. Guess shouldn't leave things sitting on the back of it. Just got to put that grate back on the bottom and tidy up a little bit of wiring, and then we'll be able to test ride this thing, or at least see if it floats. But we'll save that for the next video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. So if you want to see this thing on the water or in the water, depending on if it floats or not. But that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching.